Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're talking all about Cardano's ADA. We've seen some price movements following on from the previous video where we were expecting a move to the downside. Now we didn't know the reason behind the move, as in, Binance getting sued by the SEC, but we did know that the market was incredibly fragile and it just needed a nudge in that direction. So we saw a move to the downside with Cardano's ADA. In this video, we're going to be talking about the most recent price action and what I think is likely to happen next. As I get into the video, if you find it useful and informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new, subscribe. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, guys. Linked in the description below. Right, let's just get right down into the nitty-gritty of Cardano's ADA. Okay, so we're going to start things off with the smart money concepts, then jump over into the Elliott wave theory side of things. So here for smart money concepts, we can see that we finally actually made that change. It's been a choppy market here, right? We were in a bearish state of play. Then we went into a bullish state of play, and now we're back down in a bearish state of play. Okay, so it's really one of those choppy markets where it was trying to decide which way to go. The bulls were fighting the bears, and no one was really getting control until, of course, Binance gets sued by the SEC, which creates a shock in the system, and we can now see that the bears have control of the situation here. Okay, so let's get rid of those and let's talk about what's going on. Okay, so from a smart money concepts point of view, we can see an immense amount of selling pressure here that created an imbalance in the order books. Okay, so basically selling occurs up here at 37.15 cent, and so much selling pressure, not enough liquidity to fill all the sell orders. Price comes down to where the liquidity is, which happened to be 35.9. Okay, comes down actually a little bit deeper, and it comes all the way down towards 34.68, and then has had a small bounce to the upside. Now, from here we can see that we have a weak low and a strong high. We can see that there's basically sell order blocks, but no real internal buy order blocks. And for the most part, our structure remains in a bearish state of play. We're below the 50 EMA, which is below the 200 EMA. So we can see here we've crossed the short-term price action across the larger time price action. Again, another bearish tail. And for the most part, we've got a fair amount of recovery that's going to be needed if we want to see some move to the upside. Now, it looks like we're in some kind of fourth wave here, okay, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and it does look like there's a little bit more room to the downside to go. We're overbought on our 1 hour chart already, and our 4 hours oversold and 8 hours oversold, so there's still a little bit of work to do on some of those other time frames. Let's go down into the Elliott wave theory side of this chart. Okay, so what are we looking at? Well, we can see straight off the bat, I don't even need to measure it, we are an impulsive structure right here, okay, which basically tells us that we have a little bit further to the downside to go. So what we want to do is we want to kind of ascertain how deep is that going to go, right? Wave 4 hasn't really met its typical expectations, but there's no guarantee that it does either. Okay, so if we take a look at this and pull this over to here, for example, we're a little bit short on that 1-to-1, I believe. Move this over. Oh no, yeah, just a tiny little bit short on the 1-to-1 right in there. If I pull this in right about there, it's actually, yeah, we could argue it's done, to be fair. Not too bad. So we come up, we come down, we come up. It's a three-wave structure. Okay, now with that potentially being complete, it can still push up a little bit more. Like I said, it hasn't met the typical expectations of a wave 4. This would actually be more likely to come up towards 35.68 typically, but we're not there. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. If we do get rejected from our current high, then our move to the downside should be towards this range right in here, 34.29 to 34.52. That would be where you would expect that final fifth wave to go. From there, you would expect a bounce and a relief rally. Okay, but there's a bigger problem here, is we have this structure, this bounce, and this structure here, right? And this is the important thing to check: is where do we sit on this larger move right here? It's possible that if our wave 4, if this wave 4 goes up a little bit higher than it does already, okay, although it's set already, then that could force this fifth wave target down deeper. And if you cross this level down here at 34.19, we are impulsive at a much larger scale, okay, and that would basically mean we've got further downside to go. It would look like this. It would be a wave 1, wave 2, all of that would be a wave 3. We'd bounce up for wave 4 and come down again. Going to have this kind of structured move. Now, that wouldn't be terribly too unusual, because I'm still thinking it's possible that we have a double zigzag pattern occurring here. Okay, the first zigzag pattern took us here towards 34 cent. Okay, we bounced up towards our first target range at 38, and now we're getting rejected. So if we do this, then we're going to be talking about coming all the way down lower than 30 cent again, and potentially lower than 29. And then, of course, the other thing to consider here is, does it stay as a double zigzag? Does it turn into a triple zigzag and all that kind of stuff? So lots of things to be thinking about. And of course, it could turn into a much bigger structured move on a larger time frame as well. So want to be a little bit cautious with Cardano at the moment, I think. There's a few things that could play out here that could determine whether or not Cardano's ADA actually has a much further and steeper fall within its structures. But let's go ahead and take a look at the larger time frame. Let's take a look at the daily, right? What is going on with that daily time frame that we need to be aware of? Well, let's go ahead and actually just clear out some of the noise. We can see that we have the zigzag pattern coming down. We have the three waves coming up. And essentially, if we take our measurement here and we pull this over to our high, we could see a move down towards 29.18 to 27.13. And that there would have to be a zigzag pattern. So we'd have our first A wave, B wave, and then C wave coming down like this, right? And then that would basically allow us to then look at this as a giant A. Well, it's not even an A, sorry. It would be a W wave. So grab that one. It would be a W, X, and Y structure like that, okay? Bringing us down into this low point. And again, then we'd zoom out even further and we'd say, well, does that really even constitute what we're looking for here? Is this actually then going to bounce up and then come down even deeper and so forth? So there's a few things to kind of consider there on Cardano's ADA on the daily Elliott wave side of things. From a smart money, there are some fair value gaps down here, right? And so the fair value gaps coming in at 28 to 29 cent. That's the first one down there. There is one over here at 25 to 26 cent. And if we zoom real further out, if we really want to be bearish on the market, look at all those fair value gaps all the way down here towards 2 cent. If you really wanted to be bearish on it. There's no guarantee that you fill these fair value gaps, mind, but for the most part, I think you look at the logical ones, the ones that are more than likely going to play out. At the moment, we have ourselves a zigzag pattern coming to the upside here, and I call it a zigzag. I think it's actually got a diagonal structure right at the end there, and then of course we see ourselves moving down, and again, this will be a three-wave structure. All in all, we could still look at this as a bullish way on the daily time frame. Doesn't have to be bearish, and we could look at this as a giant kind of three-wave pattern by the time we actually get going, and it could do something to this effect here. Okay, alternatively, we could be doing something bigger and better. Could be a little bit off though, but would be a wave one. We come down into this range, we fail to go down lower, we keep that there, and then we have some kind of impulsion. I think that's a long shot. I don't think that's likely to occur, but it's something that we can be hopeful for, I guess, if we really want to be bullish on Cardano's ADA there. I think ultimately, though, a move to the downside is essentially where we are at the moment, and we should consider just DCA, basically accumulation and those kind of things in and around these kind of low areas, right? It was great to be able to kind of get this low down here towards that 23 cent. Great advantage for our community to be able to do that. And I just think, yeah, we're more than likely going to have another opportunity soon for more dollar cost averaging and all that kind of stuff. So for the most part, that's not too bad. Now, on the weekly time frame, you can note here that our stochastic RSI is not oversold, and it's not overbought. It's just kind of hovering around in the middle there. We are, of course, below the 50 and 200 EMAs. We are still technically in a bearish move here on the weekly. That hasn't changed. I mean, if we throw that into the smart money, I'm not sure where smart money has this one placed. Probably still in a bullish structure from way back over here in 2020. It has never fallen out of that structure, and that's for good reason. It hasn't come anywhere near to testing those ranges, so that's understandable. From our standard practice here, though, if we were to have this move come down a little bit deeper, then of course, we do have still great future price expectations for Cardano's ADA. It's just not something that I'm expecting to happen right now. Essentially, we are still just looking for those moves to the downside. I think I'm going to leave this video there, though. If you have found it useful and informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description below. Until the next one, though, guys, have a fantastic day.